Welcome back to Floater Gang. This next one is bound to have some disagreements. This is my head-to-head. It's Luka Doncic versus Jayson Tatum. Probably the two best young stars in the league. I mean, arguably.
Yeah.
You could throw some other
Arguably,
guys.
yeah.
You could throw. I'm not going to. But you could throw other guys.
You can throw other guys out there. We won't name anyone now.
But these two have the best case. Tatum led his team to the finals, 30-point per game score, great defender. Luka, triple-double threat every night, a 30-point triple-double threat every night. Carried his team to the conference finals. Is a one-man wrecking crew on offense. Let's start with Lauren. Who do you like in that matchup?
Oh boy. Well, we're talking about two back-to-back number 3 picks that have been absolute successes for their team. Jayson Tatum obviously has a finals appearance in his career. His team has been finals favorites several times throughout his career. I don't think Luka ever has, which largely speaks to Luka being in much worse situations. Boston has amazing situations, like we talked about earlier, Jaylen Brown being there with Tatum, and they always kind of trying to compete, and they do a really good job of that. Different situation in Dallas, but Luka definitely has some good supporting cast, especially in his earlier career. And he's made some deep runs, and he had some really big games, really crazy shots. I mean, we've seen him do some crazy things against the Clippers, against the Suns. I mean, the man's a baller. He really is. And I mean, I'm just gonna shoot you straight. I think Luka Doncic. I think he's just a more well-rounded player. We've seen him do absolutely insane things. We've seen him do things that we don't see any player do, and we've seen him do these things in his first 2 years. We've seen him up there with elite company in like all-time elite company, and he's doing this. He did this in his first 2 years, and he's still doing it. There's questions currently around the team, and he's definitely. I don't think he's definitely part of the questions that they have right now. But we've seen him have success, and I think a lot of it right now has to do with GM, coaching, organization, player supporting cast, things like that. Kyrie's there now. It's an interesting pairing, and they lost a lot of games closely. And then the organization kind of tried to tank weirdly. They got fined. I mean, there's a weird things going on in Dallas right now. To be honest, that's another discussion topic from the time. Boston set up really well. A lot of people have them as favorites, but I think Luka, especially if we look at last 2 3 years. I think Luka's the better guy. It's just he can do anything. I would love to see Luka on the Boston squad. I would love to see a Luka for Jayson Tatum straight up trade and see what would happen because Luka, I mean, that man steps up like every time. He's all about. I think he has a little bit of learning curve to do, learning how to play with that great of a supporting cast. But we know he loved playing with Jalen Brunson. So I have to take Luka. I think he's just all around better, except for on defense. Tatum is a better defender. I think Luka is actually hate on a little too much on his defense. And I don't think he's great either. I sometimes hate on him too. But I think it's hate on a little too much for his defense. But Tatum much better on defense. But my answer is Luka.
Interesting.
I think mine is too. I think that proposed trade that you made really kind of put me over the top before. I was kind of like, okay, but I really feel like if you switch these players in their positions, Luka would be more successful in Boston than Tatum is. And I don't know if Tatum and the Mavs would be less successful, but I don't think he would have as great of an impact than Luka Doncic does for them. And I think for that reason, I mean, if your player makes a team better than this other player, I think he's a better player. And that's why I would take Luka because I think he will make the team. Or most teams, I think, better than Jayson Tatum will. If you're throwing either one of those on that team, I think Luka Doncic will make that team better than Jayson Tatum will.
I'm gonna say something that we've talked about. Sorry. I think Tatum is the better number 2 than Doncic potentially. I'll just throw that out there now, but let you guys go on.
So you think Luka would win a championship with the Celtics?
Yeah, I think he'd be consistently
I mean,
closer than Tatum has been.
the Celtics right now almost win a championship. They're projected favorites for a lot of people right now. They were last year going into it. They're projected favorites. Um, I think obviously that doesn't change with Luka being on the team, and I think he gives him a better chance. I think where we've seen Tatum struggle to make high IQ plays, where we've seen him struggle against in that Warrior when we had the most turnovers ever. He's not even a playmaker. He couldn't handle double teams. We've seen that struggle between Brown and Tatum. He's the number one guy, not being able to step up in times. And he's been better at that last year, to give him credit. He was much better that last year. And Brown dropped off a little bit. We just know Luka, he's gonna go out there and he's gonna go out there and he's consistently making clutch shots and even clutch passes. For example, that one pass we saw where he chucked it across the court to Jaden Hardy. Like we know the kind of eyes he has in the back of his head and the IQ he brings with him to handle certain double team. And we've never seen him with a supporting cast that's as deep and well rounded as the Celtics. So I think it'd be really interesting
Yeah.
to see Luka play there.
Jayson Tatum actually did, I think, really good for how Jaylen Brown did and other players. You know, like against the Sixers is really important when he dropped 50 points against them and took the win. That was really big step. I don't think Luka would have done that in my opinion. I don't think he would have dropped 50 against them.
No one's ever done that.
Yeah.
That game's
Like
seven.
you got to give credit to Tatum how amazing he's done and what he's actually done for the Celtics. You know, I think he gets a little hate on. I know y'all also hate Jayson Tatum, both y'all, Marvin and Lauren. I also hate Luka and Jayson Tatum. So
It's a great argument to have.
Pick the perfect one.
I don't like Luka because he's like a baby and I don't like his play style. He's very selfish in clutch moments, which becoming a great player does not help your situation, which Jayson Tatum was pretty selfish too in clutch moments. Honestly, I think it's hard, but I think just because he assists, I don't even think rebounding really pushes Luka over because I think Jayson Tatum was a great rebounder, especially in the playoffs. He
I
was,
think Loki has slightly more.
I think in the regular season, Luka.
Yeah, Luka
In the regular season, Luka averaged more, but
Really?
He really stepped it up in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was.
yeah, Tatum averaged 10.5 rebounds in the playoffs, so
Yeah.
he definitely averaged more in the playoffs.
I am shocked though that Luka has more in the regular. He's a guard. He's gigantic. He is a guard, and Tatum's a forward.
Yeah.
Or actually no, Tatum has it's basically the same. Tatum is 8.8 and Luka's 8.6. At
Yeah,
least
there
for
you
this
go.
most
Okay, that's what I
recent
thought it was actually.
season. At least for this most recent
I
season.
thought they were like 8 players.
Before
It's the
that,
same.
before that, every season Luka's averaged more, and his career he averaged.
In
more.
his career, he averages more, but yeah,
But last season Tatum averaged just a little bit more.
And scoring, honestly, it's close. Just Tatum had that really nice streak of when he was just popping off scoring in the regular season. I just think what Luka takes it because of his assists and what he can do every once in a while to play make. He has some big plays. I think what he really needs to just really like perfect his game is clutch moments. Not be as selfish and take those like really dumb shots in my opinion. Like he just like stands at half court, waits 23 seconds, takes a shot every once in a while going, but most time he misses. And I just don't like that, and it really doesn't help his case of becoming a better and
I agree with you that you shouldn't take those. But to be fair, Luka magic is a real thing. He makes some crazy shots.
he does. But
He also makes them lose so many games because of this too.
I see a lot of games where he does that little step back three from 3/4. No,
I've seen him airball
Quarter-
that like so many
yeah,
times.
quarter court
Logo.
and
He's airballed.
So
I have no stats to back this up, but I do believe he makes more of those shots. Going another comparison that Trae Young does. I think he's more clutch than Trae Young.
Trae Young actually, I saw a stat. He has the most makes and the best percentage from that range than anyone in NBA history. I mean, Steph Curry has more makes overall,
Yeah,
but in terms of when
percentage.
he's been in the league and like efficiency wise, Trae Young's the best ever.
So one interesting thing though, I do want to
better than Luka.
just mention what Valentin was saying with Tatum scoring that 50-point game and Luka not being able to. I think he'd be able to. I don't think he would, but he would get those points or more with the points he gets and the assists he gets. And a number two that I think backs that up kind of too is so obviously he gets like 4 more assists, 3 to 4 more assists than Jayson Tatum does, and he's averaged in the playoffs. He's averaged more points than Tatum has, and in the regular season. So I think he is just as capable of whether he scores those points of getting
Tatum
those points.
Tatum also has bigger players that score more. He has Jaylen Brown. He's
Luka Doncic has gone to the playoffs with Chris.
Yeah, but Tatum's always the go-to guy.
And Jalen Brunson, they're both great players too that will score.
Jaylen Brown's a top tier scorer. And he's a higher scorer than Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, but well, that's what I'm saying. Luka Doncic getting assists too.
Can score a lot.
Luka would better fit Jaylen Brown than Jayson Tatum. But Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are practically the same player on the same team.
Well, I don't think you could put them on that on Tatum. So Luka is the engine of his offense, and if you put him on a team, he's going to be the engine of his offense. And any other player is automatically reduced to the number 2 player, the number 2 option. No matter how good they are.
Yeah.
If it's Jokic, he's the number 2. Not saying that Luka is better than Jokic, but Luka needs the ball in his hands to be effective. That's just the reality of Luka.
And that's the beauty of Jokic too, though. Not just he doesn't care. He just plays.
That's another thing Luka needs to learn is off-ball movement.
Exactly.
That's a big important role of being a point guard.
So this is why I'm taking Jayson Tatum in this conversation. So Luka Doncic, like I said earlier, he's a one-man offense. But if Luka is not having a good offensive game, he's not affecting he's affecting the game, just not positively.
But he affects the game, I think, better than Tatum does when he's not having to go scoring. Because, like I said,
Tatum has better defense though.
Tatum has infinitely better defense.
Yeah,
that's true.
Defense.
And we saw in the playoffs last year, Jayson Tatum locked down Kevin Durant, or not last year, 2 years ago. Jayson Tatum locked down Kevin Durant. Jayson Tatum can pick up a guy like Kyrie, and lock down them for possession. I also want to talk about his struggles in the playoffs. Jayson Tatum's. So Jayson Tatum had a bad series versus the Sixers.
Yeah.
Game 6 and Game 7, they were facing elimination versus the Sixers. Jayson Tatum scores 16 points in the fourth quarter after having 0 made field goals the entire game. 16 in the fourth quarter, 51 in the Game 7. And then rewind the other year against the Bucks when he scored something like 40 in Game 6 to bring when the Celtics were facing elimination, and then went off in Game 7 against the Celtics. Also, Grant Williams had a good game. I think he made like 7 threes. Anyway, that's beside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was crazy actually.
And then in the conference finals this year, Jayson Tatum was good. Jaylen Brown struggled. But we also saw something similar when the Mavericks made their conference finals run. Spencer Dinwiddie was the leading scorer, or was it Jalen Brunson? It was one of those two. They were the leading scorer in the first round series, but Jalen Brunson was still a 20-point per game scorer against the Suns and against the Warriors, and in those plays.
That's exactly it, though. Luka Doncic. Imagine if he can make Jaylen Brown. Like, imagine if you don't know who's gonna be the number 1 scorer. Not because he can't step up.
No. But then Jalen Brunson goes to his own team and averages 25.
I think even higher than that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I like Luka Doncic. He doesn't make players worse. I don't want to put that persona out there. He doesn't make players worse. He just takes away opportunities. Jayson Tatum doesn't make opportunities, but he doesn't take them away. I should say.
That is not true.
I disagree.
Look at Jaylen Brown.
100% disagree.
Just think about.
But you would rather have the ball. So you would rather have Jayson Tatum take the last minute shot than Jaylen Brown, and Jayson Tatum doesn't take the last minute shot a lot of the times, or he does take it most of the time, but sometimes he passes it up. That's a huge gripe that we have. Really?
No. Oh,
not really.
we were literally just talking
Jayson
about.
Tatum.
He's
One of the
selfish.
most frustrating things about Jayson Tatum is you see the team. Yes, he doesn't always hit the shot. Luka doesn't always either, but they're different team situations. He has more in the past. Tatum, he gets the ball, bro, and you can see everyone on the phone knows he's gonna take the shot. And half the time, he starts getting double teamed, starts doing some random crap. You're like, dude, you have a wide open guy. He has no vision, doesn't even see the man, and pulls. Like, dude, it's the most frustrating thing to see.
I disagree. We saw it last year in the playoffs. He passed up 2 game winners to a wide open Marcus Smart,
Al Horford.
and he missed both. Yeah, Al Horford.
He hit it right to him in the corner. Al Horford.
I feel like Jayson Tatum early in his career, what you're describing is super accurate, but lately he's been really improving.
To be fair, he has gotten better. Last year, I noticed his core vision has gotten a little better, potentially because of his horrendous playoff run and finals run the year before. So give him credit that he's been working on it. I mean, but Luka Doncic is just simply a much high IQ basketball player, um, with passing ability. Like for me, I think it's as inaccurate to say that Jayson Tatum takes a retarded double team um, take as it is to say that Luka Doncic does a stupid step back three and misses it all the time, because we see Luka take all sorts of shots and make passes in the clutch as well. And Luka is 100% the higher IQ player with a worse team around him. And
I
to your
mean,
point, Jalen Brunson was really good in the playoffs, and Luka was on that team. I would love to see Luka on a Celtics squad that he can play with.
yeah, but you were saying that I can't imagine how good Jaylen Brown is with Luka. I feel like he would be virtually the same, because Jayson Tatum doesn't take away opportunities from guys like Jaylen Brown.
They let Jaylen Brown shoot a bunch, and that man could not hit. So Jayson Tatum took that step into making his shots.
I feel like, yeah, like Jaylen Brown gets a good amount of opportunities. I mean, obviously he's talented enough to get however many opportunities he wants, but since Jayson Tatum's there, you want Jayson Tatum shooting more. Anyway, but Luka Doncic, we see guys leave. Kristaps leaves. He has a career year in Washington. Jalen Brunson leaves. He has a career year with the Knicks. He's not making these players worse. He's just taking away opportunities for them to grow into these elite players.
And that's usage. And if Jalen Brown leaves, he's gonna get better. Like we know this. Like that's usage rate because these are two superstars we're talking about. If Jalen Brown leaves the Celtics right now, he gets better too. He's gonna have a career year as well.
I know, but you said that he would improve with Luka. Jalen Brown would.
So what I'm saying is, I mean, so here's the difference between Tatum and Luka Doncic, and we know like this is a fact right here. Luka Doncic, if he goes in and draws defenders, he's more likely to go find a guy and make a high IQ play than Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum is not going to do that. He's either going to take the shot or reset and then kick it out. That is the Jayson Tatum move to do. So if Luka is drawing just as many defenders as Tatum, he's a lot more likely to find or alley hoop Jaylen Brown cutting or find him in the corner across the floor than Tatum is. Even like we saw Devin Booker do in the playoffs, he was dribbling. He gets guys, and he's kind of has a shooting and play style to Tatum, but with a much higher IQ and passing ability. We make that cross court pass. It's one of Luka Doncic's favorite things to do, and that way he is creating opportunities, or at least different opportunities than Jayson Tatum would. Where with Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown is forced to do a lot more on his own dribbling, and we actually saw him not be the greatest dribbler at some points last season. And that way, you're going to see Luka Doncic's usage rate and him taking shots at a similar rate to Jayson Tatum. I'm not saying also Brown's going to score 30, but you're a lot more likely to have Jaylen Brown have a great game, while Luka also has a great game because Luka is able to also focus on the passing and high IQ aspect of the game, depending on how the defense plays. With Tatum, you don't really get that. Sometimes you have just a great day that happens to basketball. Both of them are popping off, but not really because they're playing together at a high level, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to the facing elimination stats that you brought up. Jayson Tatum in the last 2 years facing elimination in the playoffs, he had 5 out of 10 games with over 25 points. Obviously, his sample size is bigger, but Luka Doncic in the last 2 years, he's had only 4 games, but he had 28 points was the lowest points, and he's shooting it more efficiently too in those games, getting about the same rebounds and more assists. So I think the fact that with your Jayson Tatum and facing elimination thing, Luka Doncic, if you change those guys, they win either way.
I agree. I mean, so Luka, I'm not saying he's not a great playoff performer. He's one of the greatest of all time, considering his sample size.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a what's the word? A stereotype. I don't know. People think that Jayson Tatum, a lot of times has choked in the playoffs, like you said, his horrible finals run.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, he struggled in the finals, yes, but in that run, he was nothing short of. He outplayed Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Jimmy Butler to get there. I mean, that is, like that's nothing short of greatness. But I know you didn't mean it like he was bad at the playoff in that finals run. But I feel like that's the gosh, what is the word?
There's certain holes to his game, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, but there's holes to Luka's game.
Yeah.
Like he can't defend. Jason
He
Tatum
can't
is
defend, but a fun fact, by the way, I'm no way saying he is a better defender or even close to Tatum. Tatum is superior. He's a different level, maybe different levels above Luka on defense. But Luka averaged more steals per game than Tatum, just FYI. So he's able to at least have an impact of some sort on the defensive end.
Luke Kennard averages more deflections per game than Dylan Brooks. Are we saying Luke Kennard's a better defender than Dylan Brooks? Or
No, but he
I
makes
know
an
that's not what you're
impact.
saying. But I
That's what I'm
like
saying.
in that context, I just think that the stats
I don't
just
like
don't show the
that.
impact.
'Cause
All of,
Draymond
if you
Green-
if the thing is, my point is like I said, I already said Tatum is probably levels above Doncic. But if you're averaging 6 steals per game, you're at least having, even if you're having a negative impact on plays, and even if you should play much better defense than you are, at least there are plays where you're able to do something for your team. And it's consistent. You're averaging these amount of steals. So you're consistently at least able to have some sort of a positive impact at some point of the game. That's almost, he's not out there completely useless on defense every play on the court. And plus he's just gigantic too. It helps just to be big. Just because you know what I'm saying? There's a certain usefulness to that. But he's not good on defense.
Yeah.
And
I
Tatum
don't
is
like
one of
that
the best.
stat, though. The
And that's just a
1.6.
steal set. That's not even an
Draymond
advantage.
Green gets 1 steal per game, and he's one of the best defensive players out there.
Yeah, but my point is not to make Luka a great defender, not at all. All I'm saying is he does have at least positive impact in some aspect. And I'm not even saying his overall impact is positive. Not even saying that.
Yeah. No, I hear you, but
He averages 1.1. Trae Young
And
averages
Tatum, the thing
1.1
is,
steal.
so back to the whole of the game. So the problem is with Jayson Tatum. So the reason he's on the court is to score. And to your point, Deacon, he's just so inconsistent though. So he has in fourth quarter where he scores 16, and hey, props to him. Kobe mindset, mama mentality. Like you're going out there, you're not giving up. But the fact that you're going 3/4 with scoring 0 is pretty bad. And it happens once, and you come back, hey, it's awesome. That's a great story. But we see this way too much from Jayson Tatum, where you have 3/4 or the fourth quarter, you're nowhere to be found. You're scoring to where are you? What are you doing? Where have you been? This happens consistently every 4 games in the playoffs. It's like, whoa, where's Jayson Tatum? Or oh, he just didn't show up this half. And I love that he's trying. Hey, all respect to him. Like he's trying, and we see him. Like I think the way he's improved his game, maybe in 2 years, like we might have really like he might. It seems like he's trying to fix all of his
He's
problems.
still very effective for this team.
But again, we have to look at how good his team is. Let's put Luka on a team like that. You just see a lot of what Tatum's there for. He's not even able to consistently bring.
He
And
was
Luka
top
doesn't. And to
rebounding
give
coach.
credit, as good as he plays, obviously he's one of the best. I'm not even trying to say he's not good. He's one of the best, but he's also one of the best teams. Let's take another player who's one of the best that I think has a more well-rounded play, more well-rounded game with less holes in his game. I think that team that's already one of the best, arguably the best with pieces around their superstar, is gonna just take it at least a slight notch above and more likely to
What
win
were
a
you
championship.
saying
That's
about
really what I'm
Luka's-
saying.
What were you saying about Luka's steal again?
that he at least provides a positive impact at some
Trae Young
level.
then provides positive impact too. He averages 1.1 steal per game.
Yeah, Jayson Tatum averaged
He's a terrible
1.1
defensive player though.
and Luka averaged 1.4. I'm not saying he's better at defense. All I'm saying is he's able to provide a positive impact, and as far as a steals asset, which gives your team the ball, he has more than Tatum. And I'm not saying he's better than Tatum. All I'm saying is if he was
That's
super
just-
garbage at defense and only had 0.5 steals, he would be very useless.
Okay.
I do want to bring up one other interesting thing about offense on them too. So we're saying Tatum is the better offender potentially or whatever. The interesting thing too is he averages every single time. He averages more minutes than Luka, especially in the playoff. He averages 5-6 more minutes per game and still averages less points and does less for the team. He's getting 40 minutes a game in the playoffs. Luka gets 36. And Luka still has a better impact, at least especially on offense, than Jayson Tatum does with less minutes.
Better impact.
Yeah, I think better impact is.
I
mean,
agree. Better.
yes.
He's able to score more points and get more assists. How is it not better?
I know, but there's a whole nother side of the
And he
basketball.
shoots better too.
I know, but
Yeah.
there's a whole.
It's like you said, Lauren. MVP is not just always offense. Jayson Tatum's defense, Jayson Tatum's rebounding, and his points per game are very close with Luka Doncic.
Yeah, but he comes with the downside of low basketball IQ, low basketball.
Okay, low basketball IQ. I would just say it's lower than Luka's. His basketball IQ is fine. Like I think
Dude, yo, I mean,
you act like he's like some idiot.
It's low for a star player.
No, I don't think that's even true. I think it's average.
dude, it literally is though, because if you look at it, especially with the squad he has, it should be really interesting to not get caught in difficult situations. But you consistently see teams double teaming him up the court, and he just starts trying to dribble. He's literally like an open guy right next to him. He's consistently in easy plays, unable to find him, and not even hard one. Luka finds guys in hard situations, and Luka. So yes, Luka is a bad comparison. But I'm talking about even just generally, like Jayson Tatum. It's like, dude, like go make a play right here. Like what are you trying to do? Try to dribble out of this?
I meant Luka. He's not good in clutch again. Like Kyrie Irving, he took a clutch shot. Guess what? I keep saying Jayson. Luka Doncic got on Kyrie Irving about taking that shot. Luka Doncic was mad because he didn't take the last shot. You know that? Lauren's taking Luka. Marvin's taking Luka. I'm kind of iffy. What?
What? You're like, I thought you were on my side.
I don't know.
I think he was on our side, but now we're making him go to your side because he doesn't like us.
I don't think neither one. I think you're trying to make different points about different players, which is fair.
he doesn't have a side.
I don't really know. I think they're both crazy good players.
No,
They
they're both
deserve
like
credit.
arguably top 5.
They deserve credit. Yeah, I don't know. I really can't choose a side. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I have nothing more to say.
I'm curious. So we talked about this already, but Valentine, what do you have a take? Do you think the Celtics will be better with Luka Doncic there instead of Jayson Tatum?
No, they're not winning a championship. That is basically saying they're going to win a championship with Luka Doncic, which they won't, which they wouldn't.
Last year they
only made it to the
didn't make it to the
finals.
finals.
I know,
Last
but
year.
they've
Would they have
lost
beat
in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals twice with Jayson Tatum. So like they're underperforming is losing the conference finals fair, you know?
Yeah, sure, but so do they make it to the finals with Luka at least? Like,
I mean, do they?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another hypothetical. So.
Obviously, I mean everything basketball. is
yeah, we have to
hypothetical.
analyze it. What do you want?
Well, I'm just looking at the facts, and the fact is that Jayson Tatum, I mean, Luka Doncic has to, but Jayson Tatum in the big time moments has stepped up, and he has had a all around impact.
But he hasn't. He's been so inconsistent. Luka's
So
consistently
inconsistent
stepped
is
up.
weird because he still averages 30. You know.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, he's a
Barbara,
great player, but
Did I understand the stat correctly? In elimination games, he had 5 games under 25, and Luka's
Good
lowest
lord.
was a 28. And he does this while pretty much averaging a triple double. Is that not the stat?
it is obviously the only flaw with that is sample size because Luka's sample size was like 4.
But Luka
rotated to 10.
does this consistently in the regular season.
That's
Like
true.
this is who Luka Doncic. This is the Luka Doncic we've seen.
Let's see.
This is the Luka that we've seen, man.
Okay, this actually brings another fact. They would definitely not win a championship. He just got kicked out of the playoffs last year, Luka Doncic.
He didn't make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, he didn't even make it to the playoffs. I definitely don't think he'd win a championship.
Have you seen the team difference?
Dude, look at the
It's
team in the
Kyrie. And before that, he had Spencer Dinwiddie.
For like 18 games.
And before that, Valentine, Luka Doncic almost single-handedly knocked out the Suns, who were
But
the
if he's
finals
so
favorite.
amazing and so
and Clippers.
different, why couldn't he at least get to the playoffs?
But that was only. But look at the teams he had; those were solid.
Here's the
teams,
thing.
but the Celtics team is so much better right now. Like it's yes,
Oh yeah, they are. And I'm not
without fact,
disagreeing.
but the Mavs team is a joke right now.
So Valentine, are
And
you
they're
saying
coaching. They don't even use. They need a big, and they don't play Christian Wood. What are they doing? They don't have any
They
defensive
don't
guard,
have anyone.
and they keep it that way. Like
yeah, they did last season.
Well, they got
the thing is, basketball is a
Yeah,
team sport that needs pieces,
And,
and
They
Tatum has
lost
all the
McGee and Wood
they got
through, but still. But let's say
they
right.
brought back Dwight Powell.
Oh yeah. No, but let's say right. Tatum was drafted by the Mavericks, and the team, everything that happened with the team stayed the same. And Luka was drafted by the Celtics. Would the Mavericks have had better success having Tatum instead of Luka than they did with
Everything
Luka
would be
Doncic?
different, dude.
even in those deep runs.
Everything would be different.
It's true, you're right, Valentine.
No,
but
that's
the
what I'm saying.
question
If
is-
everything was the same, like they had Chris House for
Just
this
say,
time.
just say
and
this.
Chris House-
Just say last year, Jayson Tatum was on the Mavs this entire regular season, and Luka Doncic was on
But the
the
Mavs
No,
Mavs.
Valentine.
Yeah, terrible.
I like Marvin's take because think about it this way. Luka,
Luka.
even if teams were different, but you have to think about it this way. On all these different type of team scenarios, who is the one that could make any of those different teams better? Even they're not all going to compete for the finals. Jayson Tatum, if he went to the Mavs last year, they still wouldn't be competing for the finals. With the Celtics, he is. That's because of the team. That's because of the coaching. These are situations the players are in. So we have to. Our job is to consider it with all different teams. Luka Doncic has never ever had a supporting cast that will be able to compete for a final. So we can't even try to compare that Tatum has so much more playoff
He hasn't had a
success.
supporting cast.
So here's where it gets confusing to me. So last year, Lucas supporting cast would terrible. There's no argument to that. No team no player except probably prime Russell Westbrook and Jokic would bring that team to the playoffs. No, I mean, Adam like prime, but
The obvious stuff.
yeah, the obvious ones. But
Luka would have probably taken the playoffs too if they didn't take the last like 8 games.
I mean the plane.
They would have
playing,
made. I think
yeah.
they would've made.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I mean,
Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, saying that Luka has not had a championship caliber supporting cast. Yeah, Jalen Brunson and Chris Porzingis. You know.
Yeah, before they broke out, and Kristaps Porzingis has only been good his entire career on the Wizards. Like you're telling me that was a contending team.
Okay, so he
Telling
was
me everyone
elite
had that
with the
as a
Knicks.
contending
Went to the
team?
Mavs, struggled, was elite with the
His
Wizards.
best career was with the Knicks.
And then Jalen Brunson was really good in that
Knicks.
Suns run, or in Suns run, the conference finals run.
so the only argument with him in Dallas is he on average in the 3
Yeah, he
seasons he
didn't
was
play
there,
much.
he played like half the time that he was there.
Yeah.
So with that being said too, that makes it a lot harder to be good too when your second best guy plays half the games. And
But
I
he
don't
was
know
healthy for the playoffs.
But you gotta make it, you gotta be there, and then
Yeah.
the chemistry lacks too if you don't play with him that much.
The thing is, it's a team sport, and not to make it about the GOAT argument, but Michael Jordan and LeBron James, both of them, Kobe Bryant, all these greats, as good as they are, you need pieces. You need all the right pieces, and yes, he's had much better pieces than he did last year around him. He's had Brunson, he's had Kristaps. These are both young players. Kristaps constantly like you don't have these are 2 players. Neither one of them have ever been all-stars. At that point, especially, we're comparing that to the Celtics squad that Jayson Tatum had his entire career is a little absurd to me. You have to have all the right pieces at the right time. Even if we're talking about LeBron, we know LeBron's great, but Anthony Davis and LeBron don't win a championship on their own. They need pieces as well.
Yeah. So why is Jayson Tatum at fault for having all these great pieces? I mean,
He's not.
I know, but and Luka has had great pieces. He hasn't had the great all around team that Tatum has had, but Tatum has produced with that team. So there's no argument saying that, or there. I mean, I could see an argument saying like put Luka on the team, they're going to be so much better. Jayson Tatum still brought this team to the finals and conference finals every year. You know.
Yeah,
What-
but anything less will be an absolute disaster with that team. That's exactly my point.
I know, but he hasn't done anything less.
Yeah, but that's just he's playing to the expectation of. That's my point of how good his roster is.
Well,
Luka
the other
Doncic the holes he's had is exactly my point. He's had games where he doesn't show up. He has games where he consistently is not able to make the right play. Luka Doncic does not lack any of those departments, and yes, he lacks in
He
defense.
doesn't
That's
make the wrong
the
plays.
great thing about the
We just
Celtics
talked
squad.
about that.
They've been one of the best defensive squads, even when they had Marcus Smart. They have Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Robert Williams, Al Horford.
Robert Williams is always hurt, first of all. Okay, like he's
True, but
more hurt
regardless
than
of defense
defense.
and even efficiency, that man. Imagine him playing with Luka. All he does is dunk.
I know, but he's always hurt. I mean, so
I don't like how you said Luka never like messes up the player or what'd you say?
never. I can't remember.
I
What
can't-
was the words you said?
For what?
Luka like not messing up. Is that what you just said?
No, I said Tatum consistently. It's not everyone may have a bad game or once in
What'd
a
you
while.
say about Luka?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're like Tatum messes up while Luka does.
No, you said Tatum consistently messes it up. Luka doesn't
Tatum
consistently
has
mess it up.
consistently games, consistently,
But he
or his
does
whole entire playoff
consistently mess
career,
up.
where he significantly underperforms for an entire game or at least an entire half of the game. And yes, the team is that good that they still make it to the conference finals. Now imagine a team that has a guy that can consistently play that role as scoring and then even add an assisting and playmaking ability to a squad like that. That's the whole Luka argument.
Then it comes down to the clutch and takes a stupid half-court shot.
Also, Jayson Tatum, yeah, he struggles with his shot, but yet again, he rebounds effectively, he defends effectively, and at the end of the day, he always has his moment. I mean, usually, yes.
No,
usually.
that's not true either.
That is true. I mean, I provided several
You probably have two
several
examples.
of
that
them
look
facing
good for
elimination, and he carried them out of it. No,
after
That
getting
game
stuck in it.
before, I said I'm gonna come back next game, drop 51.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The problem is before that he didn't perform.
Yeah, he did. He had 16 in the fourth.
Yeah, and before that he didn't do anything because he ended that game with like 20 points.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
I know, but
He
it's
didn't
like
offensively do anything for the first.
it's like, oh man, Jimmy Butler doesn't do crap in the regular season. Oh, he steps up in the playoffs, but he didn't do crap in the regular season. Like, oh, you don't do crap before, but then you step up when it matters most, and you win your team the game. Oh,
The
but
thing
you
is-
didn't step up earlier.
But the thing is, you're saying he
You
won
made
a
it
game.
close, so
There is no
that's
winning to
fine.
be done. If Luka gets a 30-point with 10 assists, they win by 25, and there's no problem, and they're just a much better overall team. I mean, even that Sixers squad they played, the Sixers series, the Sixers underperformed for half of those games, and the Celtics let the Sixers stick around. This is literally even spoken around by like even the commentators saying like the Sixers are doing all this stuff horribly, and yet they're sticking around with the Celtics because the Celtics
Yeah, two
are not playing
games, 3
apart.
40-point games, underperforming.
The
But
thing is, Luka has less off nights shooting and scoring wise than Tatum, and even if he were to have one, he can at least bring his team up with playmaking. Tatum cannot.
But Tatum can bring him on defense and rebounding, like we said a million times.
Well, Luka does rebounding too, so that's the
But
same.
with that defense, you're trying to like carry the
Jayson
defense. on
Tatum in
that-
the playoffs got like 13 rebounds, like so many games, dude.
Luka wasn't in the playoffs this
Yeah,
season,
he's
so
a-
you can't compare that.
he's-
Consistently looking at their careers and their playoffs, Luka will do the same thing with rebounds. So you
Not
cannot,
as
you can't,
highly as
you cannot put
yeah.
Tatum over
Okay,
Luka on the rebounds.
okay, rebounds. Yeah, it's fine if they're even on rebounding, but the defense is an important part of it.
Which Lauren always agrees and says MVP defense is really
I
important.
agree, but for the
You're
Celtics,
going against your
squad,
own case at this point because defense is a super highly valued. Yes. And Tatum brings that way more than Luka Doncic.
yeah, but if you bring a 6'7" point guard averaging 1.4 steals to a team that has Jaylen Brown, did have
Trey
Marcus
Young,
Smart on it,
we're gonna
Derek
bring him.
White,
You know, he averages
Robert Williams,
1.1 steals.
Al Horford.
So
Yeah, so what?
Yeah,
I'm not
Trey
saying that Luka Doncic is better. I'm saying Luka Doncic brings something to the defense that he doesn't bring nothing. He's not a body out there.
Trey Young
He's
does
not
too.
Jordan Poole.
Yeah, I mean, but
That's my only point, guys. He's not Trey Young. That's my only point. I'm not saying he's anything close to Tatum. Tatum is better. But the thing is, Tatum doesn't carry. The defense is already amazing on that team. They have Marcus Smart, he won Defensive Player of the Year. They have Robert Williams, a Defensive Player of the Year caliber player.
I don't
Derek
get
White, Jaylen Brown.
all right. Yeah, but defense is it's easier to single it down to one player because one-on-one, Luka's getting beat by a lot of players in this league. Jayson Tatum, he's not getting beat by a lot of players in this league. I mean, when it comes down, oh wait, the elite players will always get the buckets, but
Yeah, but the other thing too, that Luka, right? So I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, because Luka will get beat by probably most guards, but once you put him on like forwards because he has a bigger body, he does a lot more on defense and impact because he can push him a little more because he has size.
but Jason
If
Tatum
he-
does the same thing,
Yeah.
and the effort
He
is
can
there.
guard,
for
like,
Jason
all
Tatum. A lot of times,
Obviously,
Luka
Jason
Doncic's
Tatum does the
effort-
same
That's
thing.
not-
No one's
we're
saying he
saying
doesn't
Luka's better
do the
than
same
Tatum.
thing.
You are like defending.
No one's
him.
saying Tatum doesn't do the Tatum is better. We're just making a claim to how big of a liability Luka is and how much needed Tatum defense is on the team. We're not making a claim that Tatum doesn't do that on defense. No one ever is making that claim. I've said several times, he's levels above. All I'm saying is Luka is not a complete liability. And even though he should play better, it would be great if he could. The team doesn't need him to play that much better. And what he brings to their offensive game would make the team better than what they would lose in Tatum on defense that Luka does bring on defense. So even though he does bring less on defense, he make the team better overall still because of what he brings overall to the table. No one's making a claim that he's better than Tatum or even close to him at defense.
we're not saying that's the case, but
Well,
I think,
you just said Tatum does that too. Tatum does that too. Yeah. Well, yes.
but Tatum does it to such a higher level. I'm just
Let's
saying
put-
that I think defending Luka on defense, Luka is a bad defender, straight up. Yes, he's a big body, so he can get stops, but the effort and agility is just not there at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
you lock in agility.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, Tatum is levels ahead on defense, and the offense, I think because he can score, he can move off ball, he can crash the offensive glass, he could get inside. I don't think the defense the scoring gap is not the scoring gap is barely anything. Obviously the defense or the playmaking factor is what separates them on the offensive end, but I think Jason's defense closes the gap overall.
I disagree though, because I feel like Tatum and Luka are close on offense, right? Luka's above. Luka's playmaking is superbly better than Jason Tatum's playmaking. So I think overall, as a player, Luka Doncic's effect on offense outweighs, or how do I say this without being super complicated?
I mean,
His
basically,
offense is more effective than
despite
Jason
being worse on
offense
defense than Tatum, he's so much better on offense and making the team better that it's worth it.
Than what Tatum does on defense for his team, I think.
I mean,
I'm not sure if that's
I
completely
think
accurate.
we're talking a lot about this in circles. So do we have any more new takes? Does anyone have any new takes?
I just want to, since I was looking this up because of all the elimination games you brought up. So this season in the 6 elimination games with a 51-point game, Jayson Tatum only averaged 28 points. Against the Heat in those 4, he averaged 24.75 points. So his scoring in elimination games isn't as crazy as you made it sound. Luka Doncic does better than that, passes it more, and gets the same rebounds.
Okay, so I never said he was an elite scorer. I said he stepped up in the big moments. Like he had
But he stepped up too late in the
20 and
He had if you would have done that the whole game, you wouldn't have had those moments.
Yeah, it's like saying,
great argument because
Hey.
at the end of the day, he did step up. In those
like, here's
moments.
the thing,
But
Deacon, here's the
lost
thing.
4. He didn't step up enough 4 times against the Heat.
The thing is, here's the thing,
Okay,
Deacon.
so the game 7, he got injured early on, and Jaylen Brown was doo-doo. You can't put that on Jayson Tatum because
You partially can because Brown. I think part of the reason Brown isn't as
It's
good is
also the
because Tatum has the ball so much, he doesn't always expect it. So he doesn't know when
that's on Brown. That's not on Tatum.
Yes, it is, because Tatum's not a playmaker. Luka is.
Tatum's not building chemistry.
And not to mention, so here's the thing too. With your point, it's like the kids that you play basketball with, and they go 0 for 7 from 3, and then they make the game-winning 3. Okay, so they won us the game, but if they would have just made 2 more threes, they wouldn't have to win us the game. And that's Tatum. So you're saying, oh, but he scored 0 points. All these score, but when he needed to, they won. Well, yeah, he has an amazing team, and he finally got a bucket. Finally got a bucket as an elite player. It's like you can make if you score 2 points a game for 3 games, and you finally need to win a game, and then you score 30. That's great. We're much better if you could just consistently score 16.
But
every game.
Tatum's still scoring 25 points. It's not like he's a complete bum, you know.
Yeah,
He's still putting up numbers.
He's elite, but for his level of eliteness, he's inconsistent. Luka doesn't have that problem. And he also then brings a playmaking ability to the team, which makes
So I think
everyone else on the court more involved. You can take that how you will. I think it makes everyone better. I think it makes everyone more willing to want to play together and be ready for the ball and get involved. But he certainly makes everyone more involved than Jayson Tatum, just by
I don't like the
playmaking
so,
ability.
so
Giannis Antetokounmpo did as much as he could. Guess what? Drew Holiday sold.
Yeah.
That's Drew Holiday's fault, not Giannis's.
Oh, does Giannis dribble too much? And that's why.
The Holiday sold, bro. The whole Bucks team sold, dude. Grayson Allen, like,
So is that Giannis's fault?
Is
Because
that Giannis's fault?
no, but did the entire Celtics team sell?
yeah, Jaylen Brown was
Brown.
horrible.
He literally
Marcus
said
Smart was
himself.
horrible. Al
But here's the
Horford
thing.
shot the three horribly.
Exactly, and
Derek
Tatum,
White was
and for a
actually-
lot of that, Tatum didn't help when his poor performances and lack of playmaking. Luka Doncic is a more consistent offensive player and a better playmaker, which is more likely to get his team involved and swing in the right direction. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. You're right; it's a team sport, which you need the right pieces.
I think at this point, we clearly have our opinions on who we choose.
I'm curious. Everyone knows
we're exhausting the fact of trying to almost sway each other at this point. Me and you take Luka. Valentine, I think, is undecided, and
He's with Tatum.
Valentine, can we get a decision out of you, or are you gonna stay absolutely undecided?
I can't choose for anyone.
all right.
I
So
hate
he
it
will
too
stay
much.
undecided, and Deacon says Tatum. Let us know who you guys want after this whole discussion. See if we can maybe get some more votes one way or something like that. Let us know who you take. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like.
Peace.